We're looking for a new adventure this summer. Our next guest is here to share her story of how she discovered rock climbing. It is not only a physical activity that Maria Varonis came to love a few years ago, but she also discovered that it transformed her life in many ways that she did not expect. Welcome to the program, Maria.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Give us a little background on yourself. How did you discover rock climbing?
Well, honestly, it happened by chance. I was with my friend Abby, and we were traveling in Belize. And we signed up for one of those run-of-the-mill cave tours to see the Crystal Maiden, a very old skeleton. And they told us, you might get wet, is what they said. And 3-hour hike through the rainforest later, we were in a pitch black cave, swimming, completely drenched. And it was, to get from point A to point B, it was climb or die. We had to scale like a 15-foot wall. And it was probably the most exhilarating feeling I've ever had to date. One of those situations where, you know, if a child or something, God forbid, was stuck under a car and you become like an animal or a machine and the superhuman strength and you lift the car, that's kind of how I felt. It's like I had to get there, and I did, and I got there, and I knew I had to climb from that day forth.
Now, you had mentioned to me earlier that you were afraid of spiders. Now, I know you continued on rock climbing once you came back to the United States. Did you think about the fact that you'd probably be encountering something like that and other bugs?
Right. Well, climbing is a very immediate event wherein when you're climbing, you're really only focused on get to the top, don't fall, where can I put my hands? And it's great because you aren't really distracted by other things going on in your life, what's going on at home. And the same transfers, you know, over with insects, whereas if I were in my bedroom at home, you know, it might be a little dramatic if I were to see a spider. But when you're on the wall, you're so focused on what you're doing, you kind of put things into perspective and you realize that the spider isn't going to hurt you, it's not that big of a deal, and it's there, and you coexist peacefully, and everything is okay.
Are you okay in the bedroom if there's a spider now?
I've gotten better since climbing, you know. I'm a little more comfortable.
Now, besides getting over your arachnophobia, what else did you learn about yourself with rock climbing?
Right. Well, when rock climbing came into my life, I was getting over a 6-year-long eating disorder, and at that point in my life, the goal was to be thin. And you know, it's one of those things that sort of just takes over and it consumes you. And it was the driving force in my life to that point. And I really needed a shift, a life shift. And so through climbing, I realized that my stature was doing me no favors in getting, you know, to the top. So being little, I realized, wasn't going to help me accomplish this thing I really wanted to be good at because I loved it so much. So the new goal was to be strong and to treat my body well, and to do that by eating, you know, eating good foods and working out my body in productive ways. So it really did. Rock climbing really did help me get over a huge life struggle because it gave me a new goal, strength.
Now, speaking of strength, what kind of workout is rock climbing? What skills do you develop, and what skills do you need to develop to be able to be a rock climber?
Right. Well, you know, I played soccer growing up, so I always had like strong legs, but I had never really used the muscles you use for climbing. You use muscles you don't even know you had because you're like pulling, and so it's a lot of like upper body strength that you develop. You don't necessarily need it to start, but you develop it, and like mid back muscles. However, climbing is about power and finesse. So it's a lot of balance, a lot of focus. It's pretty meditative. So it's like a full body holistic experience.
Now, if one of our viewers out there would like to get started with rock climbing, I know you brought some tools that they may need. Can you go over these here?
Sure. Well, these are just shoes. You buy them, honestly, my feet aren't this tiny.
Okay.
Yeah. You want them to fit really snug on your foot because you want to have confidence that when you put your toes somewhere, there isn't that awkward like inch gap like in normal shoes. Like if I put my toes somewhere, I know that it's going to stick onto that tiny ledge, right? So really form-fitting shoes. And this is just a chalk bag, which if you've ever watched the Olympics, you see gymnasts before they do maybe the uneven bars, they put their hands in chalk, and it helps keep the sweat away, and it helps form resistance so that you have like a stable grip. Bouldering for climbing, you don't need ropes or any equipment, and you can learn how to work with your body with just shoes and some chalk.
Would that be good for a beginner?
Yes, I think so. I really do. The rope system, it takes more than one person, and you have to be trained with how to belay someone, which is how to like let them down easily. Bouldering anybody can do, and I would recommend doing it at a rock gym, which is where I really got my start. I know the University of Akron and Kent State University, they have rock walls there that you don't have to be a student to go. And then also another great place is Kendall Cliffs in Peninsula, Ohio, and you can take beginners classes. I think that's a really good way for a beginner climber to start.
So there's a lot of ways to get started around our area.
Sure, yeah.
Now, if someone would like more information, if they're just excited about this new sport, rock climbing, how can they reach you if they have any questions?
They can email me at maria.varonis, VARONIS, @gmail.com. They can also go to rockclimbing.com, and that's a website that lets you pick any state, any city, and it shows you where the rock climbing facilities are.
Wonderful.
So,
thank you so much.
Totally my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll be right back with more Mind, Body, and Spirit.